3-day events and concluding day as well. We started with a Coffee Connect leadership session. We had an excellent panel discussion yesterday on a very important topic, male allyship. And today we are here, fireside chat. Thankfully, there is no fire, but maybe heat outside. But it's a fireside chat. I'm sure the chat will generate enough fire. And we have Mr. Rajti and two very expert leaders here who would share their experience. And thank you once again for joining. I would now request Madhuri, our co-chair of the Women Business Council, to give your welcome remarks. Madhuri.
Thank you, madam. Actually, you've done most of the welcome, so it's just more of a formality for me. Anyway, welcome. A very, very good afternoon for all of you all, and welcome to the, as madam said, this is the third and final day. We want to call it as grand finale day of the Women's Day celebrations that we are having under the auspices of the Women's Business Council of the Madras Chamber. You know, this year's International Women's Day theme is Break the Bias. So, you know, we wanted this theme, this day should have, we really want something that, we can see Ms. Zainab's background is Break the Bias, and, that is there. So we really wanted, this should be the grand finale day and the last day where, we wanted the message to reach everyone. We have 3 eminent personalities, if I can say, for this program, one of whom is the moderator, and the other two who will take us on the path that they have treaded to break the bias and to be where they are. Now, before I hand over the proceedings to the moderator, Ms. Rajshri, I also have the pleasant task of saying a few words about her. She's an IT industry veteran and a social impact leader with nearly 30 years of global experience. She obtained her master's degree in IIT Kharagpur and so Six Sigma Black Belt and a certified executive coach. She is currently the Chief Executive Officer for Cognizant Foundation and plays a key role in evolving an overarching charter for the foundation. In her 24 years of service in the IT industry, she has played a diverse leadership roles, driving strategic and transformational initiatives, a passionate learner, trainer, and speaker in industry forums, and also mentors several startups, and has facilitated many interactive workshops for designing lean process and creative technology solutions. She is the managing trustee of Charitable Trust and co-founder for bilingual reading and learning program that caters to the underprivileged children also. I personally take this opportunity to thank Ms. Rashri for having accepted to moderate this wonderful session, which all of us are looking forward to. Without much ado, madam, over to you, madam.
Thanks a lot, Madhuriya. Hope I'm audible or am I on mute? Okay.
Yes.
Thanks. Yes. Fine. Thanks a lot, Madhuri. That's too much to tell about me. I just thought I'm going to take the easy part today. I have two wonderful, inspiring leaders here. And as Madhuri rightly said, breaking the bias is this year's International Women's Day theme. We often keep hearing about this metaphor, like breaking the glass ceiling or breaking the bias. And that this keeps reminding us constantly about all the visible and invisible barriers that women face in life, and particularly in career. But can these barriers and challenges inspire people to shine more, and not just shine for themselves, but spread more light around them, and illuminating lives in the community that they work? And here we have two exceptional women leaders who will inspire us by sharing their journey. It's not just breaking their bias, but could inspire many of us to break the glass ceilings, so we say. They'll be sharing their experience in challenging the bias and barriers, not just that, but driving behavioral change to build a more inclusive society for all of us, right? So I'm happy to introduce two of the inspiring leaders here. Ms. Sainab, I kind of got to know about her by going through the website, that several talks that she's given, and of course her LinkedIn profile. I'm very happy to kind of have two interesting development professionals here. Actually, both of them happens to be. So Ms. Zainab is a development professional, human rights practitioner, and inclusion catalyst. She's a compelling speaker, so I'm waiting for you, Ms. Zainab. And storyteller, particularly inspiring behavioral change. And currently, she leads inclusion and diversity at Pernod Ricard India. Prior to this, she has worked with KPMG as the Director of Diversity and Inclusion. She holds an MBA in HR and was the National Manager of Health and Human Rights at UNDP Country Office in India, and was the Regional Policy Analyst on Human Rights in Asia. She's been instrumental in developing and operationalizing strategies and programs that engage and unite diverse missions, starting from UN, development aid organizations, NGOs, public institutions, and the private sector. I'm here to learn from that. Sign up. That's a variety of organizations and get them all to work together. I know what it takes. Okay. Her areas of interest are health and social development issues, and she has over 20 years of national and international work experience. Born in Mumbai, Ms. Zainab Javed Patel is a transgender person and is one of the petitioners of the National Legal Services Authority versus Union of India case on transgender rights. She is a well-recognized community leader and a public speaker with expertise in LGBTIQ, women's empowerment, human rights, and inclusion and diversity. Thanks for sparing your time with us, Ms. Zainab. Very happy to have you. And oh, sorry, I missed it out. She also currently serves as a Western India representative in the National Council for Transgender Persons and is Kamal Nayan Bajaj Asnam's Global Fellow. Okay. Nice having you here, ma'am, Ms. Zainab. And again, I take the pleasure in introducing the next leader. And she's no stranger to me. Ms. Madhavi Lata is a banker, para swimming champion, national champion, and she's the founder of Wheelchair Basketball Federation of India, Paralympic Swimming Association of Tamil Nadu, and YWTC, this is SV2 Camp Charitable Trust. Okay, she founded this as a movement to encourage persons with disability to participate in sports. She is the author of a autobiography, Swimming Against the Tide. And I would have to recommend this book. You know, it's such an inspiring work. She's an inspirational speaker, author, and above all, a dreamer who dreams of an inclusive society. But of course, her work doesn't stop with just dreaming. She actively promotes inclusion in sports and promotion of sports for people with disabilities through the various organizations that she has founded. I think I first met her in one of the cognizant offices later in an event organized by Wheelchair Federation, Basketball Federation. I have to say her zeal, passion, and energy drew me more to know about her. Actually, so I started, and the confidence and energy she radiates is very contagious. So I'm just waiting here to share all, you know, the many inspirations that you have shared in your book and as well as much more. Okay. She's a TED speaker, Toastmaster, worked as president for the Toastmaster Club. She led the Indian Wheelchair Basketball Administrator and Coaches team to the US on Sports Visitors Program. And of course, she's spoken on several prestigious platforms. It's a long list, so I don't want to go over that entire list. Her efforts and achievements have been widely covered, and both of them actually, I could see that it's been widely covered in the print for those who want to kind of get inspired more. And Madhavi is also part of the Rajiv Gandhi Khel Ratna and Arjuna Award Selection Committee in 2017. So I actually should thank MCCI and particularly the Women's Business Council for this excellent opportunity to chat with two very inspiring leaders. Okay. So with that, shall we start? Okay. I just want to invite both of them first to introduce themselves and with specifically what you do and what inspires you to do what you do. Please share about yourself, what you do, and what inspires you to do what you do. So over to you, Ms. Sign Up, Ms. Madhavi.
Madhavi, take a stab first.
Just one second. Jainab, you take first. Just hear some sound is coming. Just you take.
Sure. So very good evening to all of you all. It's actually quite a pleasure to come and speak to all of you today and share whatever little I know about my life, which I think in some ways tries to make people better versions of themselves. So I think that's the only addition that I think I bring to someone's life. And you asked a very interesting question, Rajashri, in terms of what inspires you, you know. And Bhavani and I are colleagues in a program that we run in office, and she knows my love for quoting different texts and people. So I actually believe in what Eleanor Roosevelt says, that you know the future belongs to those who believe in the beauty of their dreams. So I think I'm a dreamer. So what inspires me is the ability to dream, and when I wake up, to be able to put my collective energies along with people who are aggregators to help fulfill some of these dreams. I don't know how many of you all remember this one question that Sushmita Sen answered when she went on to be the Miss Universe. And someone asked her, is this question, what happens when you to get inspired? And she says that responsibilities begins with dreams. So I think what inspires me is to dream and become more responsible right on the fact that you're dreaming. So the next morning when you get up, it's not going to fulfill itself on its own. So fortunately, I have to work towards it. So I think it keeps me going, whether it meant that I have to work for the upliftment of my people, if I have to work for the upliftment of the community, if I have to work for the upliftment of women around me or children around me. Very few people know, Rajashri, that I was also part of a team that made a submission to the Justice Verma Committee on setting up the Nirbhaya centers. And that is one part of me which is relatively unknown, because what happens is that very often you only get typecast into, say, a trans person or an LGBTQ person, or a person belonging to a particular race, or a person with disability, end up talking so much about, their sector which they belong to, that they only get typecast. Okay, you are an expert, but you are an expert in your community. So I think our ability is to shine through no matter what. So this is what inspires me day on day, month after month, and year after year.
Sorry, Ms. Saran, I mean, kind of nailed it. It's not just about the problems with my community. Some of these is actually problems across, right? And I mean, if you talk to each of these communities, people have, the perceptions and biases all around us, from whichever part of the community that we are from. So over to you, Ms. Madhavi, that probably
Yeah.
I'll kind of go with my next part of
Yeah,
the.
sure. Okay, so I would like to share that evaluation. Uh, right now, whatever Rajashree explained, to do all those things. Before that, what happened? How I slowly came to this stage. Just I will tell in a few words. Um, I came from a village in Telangana, and I was affected by polio at the age of 7th month. But I have to tell more about my family because of their support. Even though we were in village, we didn't have any idea about polio vaccination, and from a lower middle class family, we didn't even know about wheelchair. So from such type of condition, today I am doing all these things, means definitely major credit goes to my family. And this evaluation, what I told, no, right, in my teenagers, I used to think why this inclusion is not happening here in this place, educational institution, why it is not there. When I faced problems in getting job, why this is not there here, or in growing career growth, whenever I faced problem like that, I used to think at those times why it is not there, why it is not, why people are not uh, thinking about including. That is first stage. Later, after I realized that entering into the sports accidentally, and then after that, unexpectedly. Then after that, I started giving talks. I thought that no, let me do whatever I can do. First thing, creating awareness. So giving talks at various places. So there I try to convince people, government officials, collaborating with so many people, educational institutions, making them understand why they need to be inclusive. So next step is okay, telling after listening so many hesitations or apprehensions they are having to include. Then third stage, I came to third stage, that is like a, okay, let me do those things and show to the world how these things are possible. So when I told about sports, initially many people tell, "Arey, how it is possible? How a person like you can swim?" Okay, you might be doing somehow, but my child, whether my child can also swim. So many doubts. Even government people, officials are having doubts. Can we allow them to swim? If they drown, it will be a problem. So from that stage, I thought that let me do the things and show to the world how these things are possible. So like that, in this evaluation, now I am in such a stage that let us try to do these things. And next stage in my life is to make more Madhavis. Whatever I am doing right now, one person is not sufficient, right? This world is big. So with whomever I am interacting, let us make all of them empowered and take this forward. So that is now I am in that fourth stage.
Beautiful. Madhavi, you kind of touched upon, but let me shoot and start it again. I know that at least some of the challenging moments that you've shared earlier. But what is that the most challenging moment in your life which actually inspired you and gave strength to break the barriers? Can you just share some? I'm sure that there are plenty.
That's what I'm thinking. Actually, you can give some clue because you read my story.
Okay. No, I think even before reading the story, I think I've had a very fireside chat with you offline. So some of those,
Okay.
I mean, I still, there's something that kind of very fondly remembered. I mean, let's say kind of recall is that, people thinking that they're doing nice thing to you, but actually putting you down, in interviews and stuff like that. That was,
Yeah.
because you personally told me that you broke and you cried the whole night and the next day you bounced back. So that's kind of touched me. That's why I'm just hoping on.
Yeah. So, most challenging means, yes, what Rajeshri told, that is the one thing I remember because I hate crying. But that in that particular incident, I cried almost, it's like a crying marathon. Almost 36 hours I cried. So that was like after joining into my previous organization in a public sector bank. So because I faced problems in getting job, that is why I wanted to prove myself. So I was like a workaholic, always thinking about bank, always thinking about my work. How can I do best? How can I do better like that? So I worked like that. So naturally, I got appreciations from bosses, colleagues, whoever came, auditors. Everyone used to appreciate me. And then when I went for next level promotion, so that interview board chairman, when I went for that interview, that all colleagues who knows me from different parts of the country, they called me and greeted me at that time itself as if I got the promotion. I told them one more step is there, only written test I cleared. They all told, no, it's just a cakewalk for you, for your knowledge, experience you can do. But after going there in the interview board, all others were asking questions. I was responding, but interview board chairman didn't ask a single question. So I was suspecting something wrong. As my sixth sense told that something wrong, and like that only it happened. I was not selected, and if I was not selected because of my performance or knowledge marks in the written test or something, it's okay. I can take it up as a challenge, and the next time I can do better. But I also came to know that was because of my disability. So that interview board chairman thought this she's a woman with a disability. So out of over enthusiasm to grow in her career, she is coming for this. But it would be difficult for her. It is like he is not like a against me or anything. Out of like a parental affection, he thought that this is difficult for this girl, so it's better not to promote her. So that's what he thought. So that made me to cry. The moment I remember it, I was rejected because of my disability. So it hurt me a lot. So that was the thing. 36 hours I cried. And later, actually, I was in all negative feelings came to me. I thought that no, I should not write again. I should not do this. When I was working, everybody appreciated. Now, when I want to grow in my career, they were not supporting like that. I felt very bad. But what to do? My managers gave reports like Madhvi is equivalent to three persons. But in spite of that, he felt like that. But my father, my boss, my immediate boss, everybody tried to console me and tried to convince me to telling, no, you should not leave this. Whatever number of opportunities are there, you write. Let us see what will happen. So finally, I wrote next time also. I went for interview. Same person came for that interview again. He was the interview board chairman. I was surprised and I thought that this time also gone. But this the next time he only asked all the questions, and the questions were like, if you get promotion, would you be ready to go to this place? If you get promotion, like that. So then later I realized, I came to know that uh, so many people told him, Hare, why did you reject her? She's a gem, like that. Then he also felt bad. He inquired about me. He came to know really she is a gem. He thought that managers might have gave good reports out of sympathy. But later he came to know, no, those are real things, facts. So later, after a few years, when I met him and when some customers came, at that time he told that we need officials like Madhavi, who will be the strong pillars for our organization. So it was a nice moment.
Beautiful. So you didn't want to be sympathized with, and that actually gave you strength so that you want to stand on your own true merits. Okay. Over to Miss Saina. Now, what is that the most challenging moment in your life, and how and what gave you that strength to overcome that?
So that is relatively easy for me to answer because I think every year poses some new challenges. But I remember this one time. So in the introduction that you gave to me, Rajshri, you mentioned in the passing that I'm also a transgender woman, and a lot of people today, when they see me, probably won't be able to place a transgender person in their mind and say that okay, Zainab also equals to this community, which is a very marginalized peripheral community in India still, even after 75 years of India's independence. So I remember this one time when I was a college dropout in Mumbai, and the college dropout happened because when I was in degree college, I went and gave a television interview. And this was one of the first interviews in 2000, in the year 2000, where people were arrested in Lucknow. An NGO workers were arrested. They were kept without food, water, made extremely in extreme inhuman conditions. And we did dharnas, and I was this young, fiery, college-going person, and I was doing management studies then. And I went and gave an interview, and I felt so proud of myself. I felt like "Aaj to dunya jeet li maine." And we had to walk home. But as I as I inched towards home and as the train went towards my station, I just realized, oh my God, I also have a television in my house. I don't know how my parents are going to take this, etc. So on and so forth. Fortunately, that day we didn't have 24 hours new coverage. So news would be playing in a loop, once in the morning, once in the evening. So the evening coverage is gone. Like, who's going to see tomorrow? So at midnight, I had a phone call because at that days mobiles were not very common or not very affordable. So I got a call at 12:30 to 1 in the night, and one friend of mine on college said, "Oh God, what were you doing on TV?" And I literally froze, and I said, "Which TV?" I went in denial, and I said, "No, no, no, I didn't go out any TV." He said, "Of course, we saw you on television." And I didn't know what to answer. So she said, "Okay, see you in college tomorrow." And I said, "Okay." I went, and I used to study in Bharati Vidya Bhavan College, in the campus of SPJ in College of Management. And I went that day, and I made a typical Bollywood style entry into the classroom. And Bollywood style, as in, only for memorabilia. I walked in normally, and everyone stopped and they looked at me, and somebody started laughing and somebody started cracking a joke. And in the next few days, we had a parent teacher meeting, and a group of parents came to meet the course coordinator. And they told them that, you know, these kind of people are a bad influence on children. We wouldn't want them to come and work with our children on project because students used to go to other people's home because not everyone had a computer, not everyone had access to a printer. Some of us were doing, project work. All of us had to do project work. And they said, please don't send people like these to our house. And at that point of time, I did not know what hit me. It was a brick wall or something like that because I did not expect such an adverse reaction to that one interview. And it was an interview just saying that people should have the right to choose to be whom they want to. And as a result of that, the course coordinator spoke to my parents, and my parents flew into a rage. I come from a very average, lower middle class Catholic family from Bangalore. And my parents flew in the road and said, "This is what we send you all to school for and college. Do you know how expensive it is to pay fees? And if you want to go and join the hijras, go and don't show us your face again." That time I had 200 rupees in my pocket and I left home in a fit of rage. I said, I mean, I took on the Meena Kumari kind of avatar and said that, my parents will not support me and I have to go out and search for myself. And I went and sat on a train station. And in the train station, I met some of these community people from the Hijra community. And by that time, it was evening. Two cups of tea, one samosa pav, and like 50 rupees were over. I had to finish dinner, 150 rupees left. So they said, okay, you come and stay with us, not a problem. You come. And that whole night, I didn't come from a very rich family. I came from a very, very small, family with just 2 rooms to live in, 5 of us. And at least I had a space to call my own. So that day when I went to stay with them, and they stayed in the slums of a place called Malvani, and that entire night mosquitoes kept biting me, and I kept sitting awake because the stench from the gutter was very strong, and it was a very strange place. Never used to people babbling outside. And the next day they said, okay, utho. And I said, oh, come on, let's go and have a cup of tea outside and put on this sari and you have to come with us. And I said, where? To said, to do what we do. And I said, okay, chalo, theek hai. Now we have stepped out of home. You have to do something, right? No one is going to feed you. So, okay, we went out, and someone helped me dress the sari and all. And I went out with them. And they said, okay, now you go with these people, we'll go there. And I said, okay, fine, we go with that people. And they said that you have to go to every shop and beg. Now, at that point of time, this was 2000, this was May 2000, it was hot, and it was sticky in Bombay. And I was like, this was early morning, because by afternoon time, you have to finish begging, and then you go back home, pick up your vegetables from the vegetable vendor and go back home, because people would give that free to you. So the first time, and at that point, every shopkeeper in a particular area would give per transgender person 25 paise. So people of that generation would probably know 25 paise was called charana. And there is absolutely no value. You wouldn't even get like a toffee in 25 paise. You could get a white peppermint, but not a toffee. So, and I remember when someone gave me the 25 paise in my hand, I realized that that's the value of my life today. 25 paise. And here was this first year bright student of Bhavan's college who was begging on the street now, and that changed my view. But anyways, things had to be done. You had to move on. And then someone from the community who adopted me said that, you're meant for something different. You know, तुम बम्बई के बाल बच्चे हो, पढ़ाई करो, आगे बढ़ो. And I laughed it all. I enjoyed it at the end of the day. I soon forgot there was some shame in collecting that money, etc. But someone said, go ahead and study. And a friend of mine, the same friend who called me, had said, complete your education. And I told her that, what will a Hijra do with an MBA? You tell me, what are we going to do? And she said, you will thank me later. So after 1 week, 10 days, the person who from my community came and told me, let's go to your college. We'll teach your professor a lesson. I said, no, no, please don't do anything like that. But they were adamant. What they did is that they went to the college and they caught the principal on the doorstep and they said that, why are you keeping this person out of the class? The principal was shit scared because, he didn't have like 5 Hijiras standing on the door of the college and trying to create a scene because you couldn't throw them out. So they told them that if you don't allow this person to come to class, we will come and sit at the door of the college every day and create a huge ruckus. You will have to call the police to throw us out. And ultimately, what they agreed, the principal agreed, is that don't send them for classes. Come and write the exams in my class. Final year, we'll see what needs to be done. So I did give my exams in the principal's room. I mean, I don't know whether to call it an achievement or to call it the worst possible thing to happen to me. And then my course coordinator wrote a letter to my parents, a long letter to my parents. And in that days, he used to use a typewriter. And I found that letter after many years and I put it up on my Facebook. And he said at that point of time, your son, because at that point of my gender was male, your son is a prodigy person. If Peter Drucker was alive, he would have claimed him. And you invest in the education of your son, even if it comes at a premium. Your son has a terrible temper, but invest. And I was just thinking that one letter at that point of time, my parents' reaction changed. They didn't know who was Peter Drucker. My father was a truck driver and my mother never went to school. So nobody knew who Peter Drucker was. They must have said Peter Drucker must be sounding like Pope Francis or something like that. So the professor is writing it, it must mean something. So I continued to be with the trans community. I kept on going home because my parents started feeling ashamed of me. Don't come home, or if you come home, cut your hair. And they actually did asked me to leave Bombay once. They said, everyone is laughing at us. Your sisters are married because they're 10 and 8 years elder to me. Don't make us into a laughing stock. So I left Bombay. I went to UP. I completed my education to distance learning. And then my mother caught cancer. And the only, she had terminal cancer. She survived for 3 years of the treatment. The only condition that my family had when I had to go was cut your hair every time you come to see her. And for 3 years, whenever I would go to see her, I would cut my hair. And I think that kind of created a spark in me to say that, no, I mean, let me do what I want to do. Because, I don't know how many of you all read Sidney Harris. And then there's this very interesting quote from him. And he says that the regret for the things we did can be tempered with time. It's regret for things we did not do that's inconsolable. So I think that philosophy stayed with me throughout. And that prompted me, go ahead, give an exam, join an NGO, go to a corporate. And at that point of time, there was an international NGO which worked in the art sector in Bombay who gave me an administrator job. And just when I turned my back, the executive director told somebody else, if we don't give jobs to people like these, who will? And I said, I still had a graduation degree. I was pursuing my post-graduation, and you make comments like these. I left that organization in 3 years. And Rajeshri, you won't believe that same organization invited me to do a DNI session last year. I gave them that very same example, how people's aspiration changed. Of course, they did not know because the ED had changed, the staff had changed, the context had changed. But it is this conviction what made me what I am today.
Beautiful. I mean, this is like very, really touching. I mean, these are like very, I mean, both of you shared moments which were actually strengthening, and you didn't like that sympathy. I mean, you didn't want to be sympathized. I like the way that you walked out of the job because they didn't actually value for your qualification, but for, as a kind of sympathy. And this is beautiful. Just tell me one thing, that many times there are bias all around us, and there are perceptions, like you said, these are beliefs that which your parents definitely, and we place belief, but at the same time, it has impacted you so much. But there are also sometimes our own beliefs that can be limiting. I mean, taking the clue from what you just now said, the sign up. The other transgender women, I mean, whom you had to be kind of spending that night with the mosquito bites and so on, who thought begging is only the option, right? Probably because they had their dreams crushed and they stopped daring to dream. It became a self-limiting belief. So what are those self-limiting beliefs, the which they traps us and make us believe that we cannot afford a big dream? Or sometimes, for many women, think that we have to be a perfectionist because I have to prove my work. I mean, I have to prove my work, and therefore we try to kind of overdo things and don't take risk. And we say that we can't afford to fail. I have to prove at every step. Sometimes that also can become a self-limiting belief. Can you share your experience of fighting your own belief in your life? And what is that advice that you would give to other young leaders who are fighting their own self-limiting beliefs? I'll start with you, Ms. Saini. Saini, you're on mute.
My only advice is that don't get defined by what people think of you. And in this age of hyper nationalism where everyone gives a certificate for what they think you are, you are your best certification. You are that, that ISO person yourself. You can certify yourself. There are times when I am the reverse stereotype. So whatever success that God has given me, and through the grace of my parents and well-wishers that I have achieved today, they want me to stereotypically deliver on that and do better year on year. So I don't have competition outside, unfortunately. So I don't have another person who I said, okay, that is some person I want to be like, because I am my own competition. And I feel if you're getting into situations like that, sit back, pause, reflect, is this the way you want to go? Or a course correction is required right now. If age is on your side, whether it is 25, 40, you can afford to take risk, do a course correction, rethink what you want to do. Don't think right now I am celebrated in the corporate world. will the celebration be for the next 5 years? Will it last? Will I continue to be relevant just because of what I bring? If the answer is even 20% no, I mean, I would say it is definitely to 180% yes, I will not be relevant in that sense when I move ahead. But if that is the case, do take the risk, diversify, and fail. I think I would say, tell people is taste failure. Taste failure because a lesson is not learned and it is continuously be repeated until it is learned. So tasting failure is actually good. If age is on your side, you can afford to take those risks. If you fall, it will teach you. It's like, mothers trying to protect babies from falling down or going till the baby goes and touch that fire, till it, scrapes his ankle or his knees. The person will keep on doing it. But I think, that's why I said a lesson is repeated until it's learned. So I would say break the bias in that sense. Believe that you can do. It's okay to fail. It's okay not to live up to someone's expectation. It's also okay to say, last year I did 100, this year I can do 75, and I want to be happy with that. I don't need to become 110, 1000% because somebody else wants me to become. That is my only advice. Rajeshri, now you are on mute.
Beautiful. This is beautiful. And Madhuri, anything that which you thought that your own belief was limiting you and which you had to break? Can you share an instance?
Yeah. So, in my childhood, in school days, uh, for school first, subject first, like all those things, academic side, elocution, or debate, all those things I use, essay writing, all these things I used to get first prize like that. So, when it comes to sports or any cultural things, Madhvi was not there. So, yeah, even my parents also used to tell, you don't go near to playground while they play. Also, if they fall on you, it is a you may get injuries. So that was the fear for them. So in that type of situation, I thought that okay, I can't play. I can't do these certain things. I can't do only whatever with the brain intelligence is required. I can do. But these type of other things where along with the brain intelligence I need to use my body also, it may not be possible. So that was the belief I developed because everybody told me same thing. And then when my health condition deteriorated and 1 year to live, when doctor told that we didn't have any other choice, at that time the physiotherapist suggested hydrotherapy. So I love water for so many years. I had a strong desire to keep my legs in the water in a pond at the temple we will go. No, their ponds will be there, but everybody used to keep me away. Just keep my legs in that, feet in that, and listen some light music. That was one dream for me. So when he told hydrotherapy, really I felt so happy. I was the only person felt happy. All others got scared how she could manage in water like that. So after entering into water, first initial level only exercises. Next, when I wanted to learn swimming, the desire was there because I love water. But to ask coach, hesitation. If I ask what would he think? Uh, for her, entering into water itself, great thing. Again, she wanted to learn swimming. But with strong courage, after taking up this courage, then I asked him, and then he told, "Sorry, madam, I never saw a person like you swimming." So then I only, because even I could not go
Self-taught.
to I could not go to college. There also I learnt on my own, right? So the same thing here. Here also I wore a tube and I learned swimming on my own. When I got confidence, I removed. And after that, when I participated in swimming events and won the prizes, no, became national champion. It was like whatever belief I had earlier, and now I could break that one, so that I realized that now everything is possible for me. Doing things on the ground is okay, different things, even if it is playing sports also on the ground, okay, but underwater, you know that even non-disabled people will have fears. But when I was able to do that one in a 50-meter pool and 10 feet depth pool, when I was able to swim, that gave me a lot of confidence. So entirely it changed. It's not just about entering into sports and becoming a champion, just not about that. That changed my perception, and I realized that I can do everything. May not be in the same way others are doing, but I will do in my own style. That is Madhavi's style. So when after I realized that one, no, then you know that how many events I organized. As a student, I never thought that I could organize one event. I didn't even participate in any event, no, in those days. But now I arranged events like international championships with hundreds of players who needs accessible accommodation, accessible transportation, which is a dream in our country in the present situation. For hundreds of people, one person, if I go to other place, I struggle to find an accessible hotel room or accessible transport vehicle. So you can imagine about when we did for 500 people, 600 people. So all these things it changed actually. That one entering into water changed my perception. I could come out of those beliefs which I had. So for youngsters to tell this one, no, one message from my life experiences is definitely leave about fighting with others. We should fight with our own beliefs. This type of beliefs we have, whenever we should fight with them and come out of that. Then it will show us lot of avenues. Now I'm not thinking anything is impossible for me. And now today I'm confidently I can say that I can do anything in this world if I want to do. That is important. That class is there.
That
If I
confidence.
want to do, I will do. If I don't want to, email, I may not keep this mobile from here to there also. So if I want to do, I can do. So that confidence I got it.
Beautiful, beautiful. That is another thing that we all normally talk about for women in general. No, not definitely for a trans woman and for women with, I mean, the kind of challenges that you have gone through is much more. Generally, for women, this particular article from Capitalism always used to be very curious. It says that the double bind dilemma for women in leadership, in particular, damned if you do or doomed if you don't. I mean, what caught my attention in that is like women leaders never perceived as someone who's right. Either they're too aggressive or they seem too soft. Either you're very competent or you're likable, but not both. Okay. From your experience, now what had been, I'm sure that would have been many more stereotypical expectations from the world around you. Can you share some experience of overcoming these perceptions? Like you said, Madhavi, that, oh, swimming is not for you, definitely not for someone who's physically challenged. How can you even dream type, right? So it's like it is an expectation. It is a very stereotypical expectation, right? No, you cannot be competent on this. Or I mean, okay, fine, you're pleasant, you are, very pleasant to work with, but not both types. So, what are those stereotypical expectation people have, perceptions that people have around you, both? Like you're coming from a completely different life setting. So, what are those stereotypical perceptions that we challenged you and which you had to overcome?
Shall I start?
Yes.
Okay. So when we started this Wheelchair Basketball Federation of India, at that time, you know that sports persons itself, women are less, and sports administrator side is very very few. Even if they are there also, like in politics, like somebody's wife, somebody's sister or daughter, somebody like that, the people will be there, right? So even that was the situation in Olympic sports. In a Paralympic sport, at a national level federation, started by one woman with a disability. So many people had feeling that uh, we were mad. We didn't think that how challenging task it is for a woman itself, and with the woman with disabilities, like people you can understand. For women with disability, very very low expectations people, the society will have. So they thought like that this is something uh, we are like aspiring for a very impossible task. So that was the I saw many people, I observed that type of thing. People use it to and to criticize also, no. Suppose if we get support, they may think, okay, because she's having some disability, woman with a disability, she might have got some sympathy or something that is pity with that somebody might have supported like that. But the way we could progress, we started the federation in 2014, and by 2019 itself, we are able to take this sport to 23 states, and more than 650 players are there across the country. You can understand the challenge in it. It's not an individual game. Till now, at Paralympics level, we our country represented only in individual games like athletics, swimming, such type powerlifting, such type of things, shooting, but not in a team games. It is big challenge to promote team games, that too where sports equipment like sports wheelchairs are required, and where mobility related challenges are there. The accessibility situation in our country, getting accessible accommodation is a challenge, transport is a challenge in such type of situation. And another biggest thing is, parents are like my parents, how they thought about me in my childhood, like that now. Even now, some parents are like that. They are thinking their children should not enter into sports, it's dangerous for them. And persons with disabilities are thinking whether it is possible for me or not. So many challenges, not one challenge. These many challenges, when we are able to take this sport this to this many states, I don't know whether our country people were able to understand the effort required, and whatever we were able to do. But other country, whenever we went for this international tournaments, all other country people told that this is something amazing. We No country in all other countries, we never saw this type of growth within this much short period, reaching out to this many states and developing this many players. After 2 terms after working as president, when I stepped down, that international federation sent one letter. That letter also they used it like a sort of extraordinary passion, enthusiasm with with all these things. How I worked for that, so that was like a I we can understand that how when we are starting something, the people around us,
So
what
you
they think
can
about
change
our
the
children.
perceptions. That's the confidence that you're giving. Okay, so I think
Yes.
you just need to constantly fight it out and work towards that, gradually. Miss Sainab, what are those stereotypical perceptions for particularly, you're completely in a different setting. What are those stereotypical perceptions around you? Um, I mean, you beautifully said that, like always looking at whether my skills or what percentage is relevant for the next 5 years and so on. I'm sure that you're sensing a lot of those, the changing. So, what are those specifically the perceptions and stereotypes that are around you which challenged you?
So I'll give one example in interest of time as well. So Rajni, what has happened in my case is reverse stereotyping. So when people see me, they see me as, okay, I'm a tall person. So yes, a tall, the person who stands tall, uh, articulate, well spoken, can speak her mind. So when you see a trans person like me, and I'm coming back to my previous point, which I made, saying that you wouldn't be able to place in your mind that Zainab belongs to the same community of someone who comes and accosts us at a traffic signal and asks for money. Right? So today, so whenever we see a trans person on the street, and especially on a signal waiting to come and ask you, the first reaction is to either press the button to raise the window up so that we don't have to deal with that person, or to just look away or pretend we are busy. So for me, in my case, is that let's look at this occasion. People have come here to listen to me. People have come here to see me, to hear what my views are, and probably take a few lessons home. So when it comes to a community, like, so for them, this model of being a trans person is acceptable.
Mm.
And in many ways, I'm not saying it's right or wrong or whatever. I have worked hard. It's people's acceptance also. So when this model of being a trans person works for them, they expect people when they meet, when they start interacting, people to become clones of me. Like, successful women or successful men. When you say, Ari, a chai wala can become a prime minister in our country. What's stopping you from being that? And we have to realize that every chaiwala cannot become the prime minister. So there are so many instances.
And every child has a different dream.
Yes, and it's perfectly fine to have
It's
to not
perfectly
have
fine
those
to have the dream.
It's
Yes.
perfectly fine to not have those ambitions and not wanting to be a stereotype. Like, Mary Com and her lovely boxing association where she's training young girls in boxing is great for people who would want to do that. But what if I don't have an aspiration to be a boxer or a swimmer or an engineer or a doctor or a lawyer? And I see a lot of women also within us, the spaces that we work in, we'll realize that, okay, here is someone who's done well in life. So become like her. We all say, we tell our children, why don't you become like a neighbor's daughter or son? So we are so obsessed in our ideas for cloning people. You realize that the person's personality doesn't matter. I think this is the biggest bias that I've felt. That I find it easier that people think it's okay, it's cool to have a friend like Zainab. But is it cool to also have a friend on the street? Probably the answer. So the reverse stereotyping works. And if Zainab can work so hard and she's become she's become a role model. I don't want to become anyone's role model. You can't determine that I become a role model. It's people have to tell you that, okay, Zainab, thank you for being who you are. I've started looking up to you. And I have a few people who told me that. And I've also had so many people who say that, after looking at you, people have unrealistic expectations from us. And I would not want, my body of work to become a disservice for somebody else. So that I feel, very aptly kinds of, the reverse stereotyping. When we say affinity, so people will want to, associate, talk to me, be friends, listen, be inspired. But in this particular context, so I feel this bias is very true for a person like me. And believe me, it's something that I deal with on an ongoing, everyday basis.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. I'm just waiting for, like I see Saraswati ma'am posting that there are any questions. So we would take any questions that if you have. Ms. Bhavani and Madhuri, like how much time did we have? I think we're almost in the interest of time. I want to take the questions first if there are any.
Yeah, we have another 15 minutes to go.
Okay.
So,
I'll wait for some questions, Dr. Ravi. I know you'll always be the icebreaker. So I'm just.
I have a question if I can ask.
Yes, Madhuri. Yeah.
So this is for both the panelists, okay? In your whatever your life experiences, if there's something that you think that either the government can support or something that in a support system that can change the way things are, what would it be? In terms of in terms of improving the community in which we are working on, what would be the support system that you're actually looking at, to help this community itself? Any one of you can go first.
Is it particular about government or anyone in the
Anything that you would like to? I mean, like, I have seen this kind of support system somewhere. I wish it was here, or we can do this. It would be easier. Of course, we have a long way to go from what we are, but we have progressed. But if this support system was there, probably we could have gone, much further ahead than what we were. So, is that something that you were, in your life, in your working experience, you think that this could have done, or maybe we can do it? Or we're looking at doing it something like that.
Okay, if it is within the society, first I want to start with home, because family, they should understand things, because with my personal experience I saw that because of lack of awareness what my parents thought at that time, but that was long ago. But even now, recently also, some of the persons with disabilities, they lost a golden opportunity to participate in international tournaments because parents had fears. So that awareness, what I strongly feel, not in the society, awareness needs to be created in all these things. Either it is for families or persons with disabilities, educational institutions, corporates, government, everywhere awareness is required. The first thing what we need to do, awareness. If we create awareness, then things will in place. So I strongly suggest that awareness creation is the most important thing.
So for me, I have fortunately been blessed whenever I have gone to find a boss whose ultimately blue-eyed child I have become. And like I'll always call this out. I have written an article and I have mentioned my ex-boss and embarrassed her, and him and her both. So I give me 2 minutes, Rajeshri. I have to tell you this
Sure.
example on this one. So typically people when they interview for DNI positions, what will a person look? They'll start saying that, okay, what is the DNI experience? What is the HR experience? What is the qualification? And few people, few visionaries will say that, let me look at the lived experience of this person. So when I interviewed with KPMG about 4 years ago, I did not have any of this. I did not have a degree in humanitarian work or industrial psychology or whatever. I just had a distance education learning degree in MBA. I had development practice experience, public policy experience, extensive experience, India and abroad. I mean, you could Google me. You will find like 10,000 articles written by me on me for the work that I've done. But how does one make uh, the extrapolation of the work that I did in a public policy space to be say that, okay, great, Zainab, you can understand gender, you can understand ability, you worked on caste, you worked on LGBTQ, great. But would you be good for our organization? I don't want, a lot of people are actually scared of getting these NGO type people into the organization. They are scared that these are people who are going to put a dharna out, or they'll write something on Facebook, or they'll write something on social media that run the company down. So I think what happened phenomenally with my ex-boss who selected me for this job is, like, I give this example that when uh, when Subhash Ghai was interviewing Mahima Chaudhary for this role in Ganga, Pardes. Pardes is a Hindi Bollywood movie. And Ganga, she was playing, the character name was Ganga, and she is a village girl. Very simple. And Mahima Chaudhary was a supermodel. She had colored hair and she spoke Hindi and English both with an accent. And she went in. And when she gave this interview, she said, when I met Mr. Subhash Ghai, he could see his Ganga in me. And I say the same thing when I met with my ex-boss Unmesh Pawar, he could see his DNI leader in me. Or the one who I worked in the UN system, Alka Naran, who said that, don't put Zainab in a box, give her projects beyond what she can deliver. I am confident there is nothing that you can't do as a generalist today. So when we are talking about concepts like generalist or specialist, my boss was ahead of her time. She said, she's a generalist, give her everything, she'll do. She'll manage, she'll find her way through. She'll learn up and she'll come and put some questions which even we don't know. So I guess the fact is that whether it's the government, the private sector, anyone around us, if we have someone who actually sponsors, who believes in you and sponsors you. I don't want mentoring. Mentors are available a dime a dozen. Everyone who opens his mouth today wants to be a mentor. But can you put money where your mouth is? Can you stand and say that, okay, I am going to sponsor Zainab. I am going to pull her into events, into assignments, into projects, even though people around me are going to ask, she, why is she here? And why is she going to speak? If I'm willing to take that chance, whether it's the government, the private sector, or any other philanthropic work, that is exactly what is needed for, and that is the true equity that you're bringing, is to lift people up. So I think that's the requirement.
That's very fantastic. That gives a lot of perspective of what we're going to do. I just wanted to share a Madras High Court decision recently also. I don't know if all of you've seen in the news or not. One of in the public sector, appointments, a transgender woman was given a quota of the women, and then there was a writ petition that was filed in the High Court. The High Court said no, it doesn't work like that. They will have a separate, set up, and they should be given a separate quota, and then you can't do it in the women quota. So the mindset is changing to what we would like to, but then maybe we'll have to accelerate that process so that all of us are in place where we want to be. Thank you very much for this insight, both of you. Yeah.
Any other questions from anybody?
Sarsi, ma'am, I am not putting a question. I just wanted to share some of my thoughts. Having been attending all the 3 days program, certain thoughts just to travel to my mind. I just listed them out. I'll just take only a couple of minutes, not more than that. Before that, I would like to salute the 2 women today for the progress with the determination they have made. And they have already given the signal. There is no bias at all. It has been broken already. There is nothing to break. They have already started breaking it, and the process will, and they have set the tone for it. Having said that, what crossed my mind? In order to ensure that this woman bias or the diversity and all those things, breaking these things and all is not required over a period of time when the following things are being followed. That's what crossed my mind. Instill confidence from the childhood that all children are wonderful creation of God and are equally capable and to be respected. This can be achieved if it is a part of curriculum, narrating stories of great women leaders, freedom fighters, achievers, and so on. And like the fire started burning in the belly of the child from the childhood to become one like that. This can also be achieved by making it home to understand that both the children, male or female, should respect each other. While making the child to understand the boundaries within which they have to act, provide them the freedom to think and do instead of laying the foundation stone for the bias by saying, do not talk with him, do not go with him, etc. And create a curiosity within them. What if I talk or go? The problem starts when you put an invisible chain around a girl child that you are a girl and hence you should not do this or do that, etc. This curtails the creative genius in the mind of the girl child from the start, which at later stage makes it difficult for her to come out of it. Encourage, motivate, and reward the child for their acts by giving equal opportunities to all, and more particularly ensure that even those who could not reach the benchmark are pleasantly rewarded. Having set the tone at the beginning stage, when they become adolescent, and with the rich contents available in various sources, they know what to do and what not to do, barring few who fails to take cognizance of realizing the don'ts and do's. Freedom should not be confused with discipline, and for that matter cannot be compromised. Coming to workflows, there should be HR
Ravi, I
policy.
think you are trying to make a policy now.
No. Yeah, sort of. Sort of, because
so
these are the
beautiful.
things
I would like to
fundamental
take
which is
this
missing today.
fireside chat time back for 2 more questions because I have reserved it as a last thing. Since I got a warning.
That's why I said I will take 2 minutes. I have taken only 1 minute and 20 seconds. I have still more. That's why.
No, I'm not too sure whether we have the time because we have only about.
I have only 1 point more.
Speakers speak, yeah.
As part of the curriculum in the degree level at least, the constitutional rights available to every citizen for which woman child is no exception. The plethora of legislations which have provided the rights available to women and the protection given to the women and the institution like women forums to provide them the required legal assistance. The real bias is broken only when the situation arises where there is no legislation in force and men and women are equally treated and understand and respect each other in every walk of life. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Dr. Ravi. You beautifully kind of summed up, and both of them touched upon the importance of providing that equal opportunity just beyond any gender definitions and beyond any of those physical abilities or different abilities. Beyond all that, providing that equal opportunity and just the sponsorship, as Ms. Zainab talked about, it's not just about mentoring, providing that sponsorship right through. Providing them platform, which is kind of an equal platform for them. So I have two rapid fire kind of a question because I just thought if others fail to ask. One is that if you have to go for any particular moment, it's a make it quick. If you have to go for any particular moment in your life and want to change it, what would be that?
So I had always had colored hair in my life. There was this one particular occasion when I went and colored it black, and I think I absolutely regret it. That's the only moment.
And I think you also regretted your cutting the hair. Yes, Madhavi.
Yeah, for me, only one thing. I feel when I worked in my previous bank, one situation I wanted to work in foreign exchange, which is a desk job. but immediately I could not get the opportunity. It is like a premium role. It's not easy to enter there. Then another option, credit also. Credit means that giving loans, all those things, no? So there I got chance to work. I worked with a great passion, analyzing that balance sheets, all those things. But when I had to go for inspections. But when I went for inspections, some places were not accessible. So then my boss gave me an option. You can either, if you are able to go, you go. Or otherwise, if you want to take one more officer with you, you can take. Or otherwise, the another officer goes there and gives you report. You basing on that, you do remaining work. That option he gave me. But at that time, right now we are seeing super specialization in work. Each work will be done by so many people. But that at that time, one work, everything that field officer, that credit officer used to do pre-inspection, post-sanction inspection, everything. So when all others were doing like that, for me, somebody going and doing that inspection, those things I didn't like. That's why I didn't opt. But if I get such type of opportunity right now, I definitely go for that.
You'll go and grab it. Okay, okay. Last final question, just the 2 minutes left over. What if you have a magic command? Okay, and you can only change one thing in this world with that to make it a more beautiful and a very inclusive world. What is that you will change in this world?
I will change everyone as empathetic. If everyone is empathetic, there won't be any communal issues. It's not about this disability, all these things. Everything. Gender issues, communal issues, all these things, nothing will be there, abilities related, because everybody will think stepping into the shoes of other person.
Yes, I know.
I think if I were given a magic wand, the first and only thing that I would want to do is make parents love their children unconditionally.
Sure.
So whether you're disabled, whether you are LGBTQ, you are, different type, which doesn't fit into the normal stereotype. Because if you get that love, respect, empathy from within your home, that's the most biggest pillar of strength that your child will ever need. And if they get that strength at the formative years of their life, people turn out to be less bitter, more lovable, more courageous, more forthcoming, and that basically makes them unstoppable. Look at all the great leaders, which have come in history, whether they are in epic or real. Krishna was loved by both of his mothers unconditionally. Yashoda, um, if you look at Jesus, he was loved unconditionally. I mean, Mary gave birth to him, when it was taboo. So all of these people, if you look, there's a very common thread that they had unconditionally loving parents. So I think it sets a very great stage for people to be better people. So request to all parents is love your child unconditionally.
Beautiful. She said empathy, and you said that empathy, let it start first from your own home. Just the parents, even that will do the magic. And I think Mr. Ravi talked about training. I think the first training that we require is for the parents. And parenting is the only role that we all undertake without any formal training. I mean, just with that note. It's really very difficult because, many times that you learn about a lot of positive psychology by the time your parenting period is over. So beautiful. It's really, really inspiring and like wonderful to have you both, Ms. Zainab and Ms. Madhavi. And thanks a lot for Bhavani and Madhuri, for giving us this wonderful opportunity. I hope that this YouTube video will kind of inspire many more across the genders and across with whatever the abilities that people have, and let them shine. Okay, thanks. Over to you back.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
It's been a wonderful 3-day celebration of the Women's Day. And we from the Women's Business Council are thoroughly happy and excited about the way these celebrations have gone about, the kind of participation of my eminent speakers, my Women Business Council members, my co-chair, of course, the most encouraging, energetic Saraswati, and her secretariat. Vishaka started by speaking about the aspects of leadership, her life experiences, challenges, and skills required. It was a scintillating talk by her with her own pace, trying to give all those messages across to the younger generation and to women who want to become leaders of tomorrow. And of course, all the other senior leaders who are listening to this. Male allyship, which Kalpana, Asha, and Suresh participated, stressed on the mindset and the systematic change required in organizations to be allies for gender for now, and of course, allies for all strands of diversity in future. And what a wonderful session today, Rajshree. It's been an enjoyable fireside chat, coordinated by you. And it was so moving to listen to Madhavi and Zainab. And thanks so much for sharing your experiences. And we at the Women's Business Council are so happy to close the first year with the wonderful set of panel discussions and the great speakers for our Coffee Connect. And over to my beloved secretary to do the closing for this entire celebrations.
Thank you so much, Bhavani, and to the speakers and Rajshri. I should say I'm speechless. Bhavani has summed up, and I really feel what a way to end our 3-day events and to the topic especially. We could have two great probably achievers, if I can say, who have broken the bias, not just for them, but for the entire group. Probably we might talk about breaking the bias more so in an individual perspective. But see what we have done to the community and to everyone, I would say. Such a brilliant speaker. We salute them. We salute Zainab as well as Madhvi. And of course, our special thanks to Rajshri, who could bring out so much of inputs within such a short time because of your brilliant pointed questions. Wonderful takeaways from here, I should say. Zainab said about the beauty of dreams. Dream, probably that would only take you where you want to go to. Probably I could see that she had dreamed even without sleeping. The kind of achievements probably wouldn't have even allowed you to sleep, but only to dream. So much of a motivational thing, and you have also said that you shouldn't get defined by others. That's a wonderful takeaway. Most of the women, especially, the problem they say is even in our earlier sessions, we were discussing it's not the bias, not just created only by men folk. Sometimes it's self-created, as Rajshri said. So important to not to get defined by others. We generally tend to, many of us, or at least many of us at some point of the time or many point of time. And you have said, even it is nothing wrong to diversify and fail. Success alone cannot make a complete person. You have to fail probably to have more learnings. That is beautiful, Zaina. And also you said about the reverse stereotyping. That's again a brilliant thing. The example you gave, the kind of situation you said. I think that's extremely, extremely important. And that definitely can break the bias for many, in many sectors, many ways. Thank you so much, Zaina, for being here with us. Maybe we should keep in touch and you should help us through the Women Business Council what more we require to do. Madhuri was asking about the policy level support, whether there is adequate support. You talked about parenting and a consent home. We will also see what probably is to be done. Of course, we know Madhuri will accept that even if the laws are there, not all the laws are implemented and not people taking cognizance of the laws sometime. So there are a lot more things to do in this to create a very empathetic society and community and fellow beings, as Madhavi concluded. That's brilliant. So I know of many years now. I was in British Deputy High Commission, and we keep meeting each other, spend a lot of time in informal chats. But here I saw different dimensions of your experiences. Very beautifully presented. You said it's not just enough if you create awareness. It's not just enough if you dream and just wake up. You have to do what you want to do and show to others it's possible. As you rightly said, now many people, many para-Olympics and para-athletes could come here because of your efforts, could be accepted because of your efforts. So that's again a brilliant thing to do, to walk the talk, to do and show what is capable, what probably others can also, the heights they can reach. That's brilliant. And also you said, and both of you said that you have our sympathies. Any of these kind of biases need not have to end with sympathies, but we all look for opportunities, not just sympathies. So that is again beautifully presented. And as Madhavi also said, probably you can do your own way. We need not have to always have role models. Sometimes we feel we may not have to that role model, so we don't even make an attempt. So as you say, if you want to do something, we should attempt, and even you can create your own style and you can create your own followers. So both of you beautifully presented and also concluded very final remarks. Rajshri, thanks for asking that question. Very beautifully summed up the entire 1 hour session. Probably if we have a magic wand, we would like to continue with the session and repeat the session now. Thank you so much. Thanks, everyone. Thanks, and thanks, Madhuri. Thanks, all the WBC Council members. Special thanks again to the leaders who shared their experiences, and Rajshri, who made them share their experiences and create a lot of takeaways for us. And thanks, Bhavani. Thanks all the participants. So we are at the end of the 3 events. We want every day to be a Women's Day. Okay, at least this year we have had a 3-day thing, but a lot of activities are planned. We will definitely request you for your ideas, for your suggestions, for making the MCCA WBC more active, more productive, more useful to everyone. Thank you so much. Once again, I wish everyone a very, very happy International Women's Day, and we would close this year's, at least immediate programs. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks all of you. Happy
Thank-
Women's Day. Weeks
you.
continue.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, and wish you all the
Thank
same.
you.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye.
Thanks, Zainab. Thanks, Madhavi.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Madhuri. Thanks, Madhu, Vasu, all of you. Special thanks to all of you for helping us curate this whole thing.
Thanks, Bhavani. It's your great mainly. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks, Rajshri. Bye-bye.